Hi, beautiful people. I'm going to be reading Pride and Prejudice, Volume 2, Chapter 7. Let's start now. Sir William, let me look up this word. Stayed. Sir William stayed only a week at Hunsford, and his visits were long enough to convince him on his daughter's being the most comfortably settled and of her possession uh, and of her possessing such a husband and such a neighbor as were not often met with. While Sir Williams was with them, Mr. Collins devoted his mornings to driving him out of his gate and showing him the country. But when he went away, the whole family returned to their usual employments, and Elizabeth was thankful to find that they did not see more of their cousin by the alteration. For the chief of the time between breakfast and dinner was now passed by him, neither either at work in the garden or in the reading and writing and looking out of the window in his own book, which fronted the road. The room in which the lady sat was backwards. Elizabeth at first had rather wondered that Charlotte should not prefer the dining parlour for the common use. It was a better sized room and had a patienter aspect. But she soon saw that her friend had an excellent reason she had for what she did, for Mr. Collins would undoubtedly have been much less in his own apartment had they sat in one equally lively, and she gave Charlotte credit for the arrangement. From the drawing room they could distinguish nothing in the lane, and were indebted to Mr. Collins for the knowledge of what carriages went along, and how often, especially Mr. Bond, drove by in her. Let me look up this word. Fulton. Fulton, which he never failed coming to inform them of, though it happens almost every day. She not unfrequently stopped at the parsonage and had a few minutes' conversation with Charlotte, but was scarcely ever prevailed on to go out. Very few days passed in which Mr. Collins did not walk to Rosings, and not many in which his wife did not think it necessary to go likewise, until Elizabeth recollected that there might be other family living livings to be disposed of, and she could not understand the sacrifice of so many hours, and now and then they were honored with a call from her leadership, and nothing escaped her observation that was passing in the room during these visits. She examined it onto their employment, looked at their work, and advised them to do it differently, found fault with the arrangement of the furniture, and detested the housemaid in negligence, and if she accepted any refreshment, seemed to only do it only for the sake of finding out that Mrs. Collins' joints of meat were not too large for her family. Elizabeth soon perceived that though this great lady was not in the commission of the peace of the county of the for the county, she was the most active magistrate magis magistrate magistrate in her own parish, and the menaces concerned which of which were carried to her by Mr. Collins, and whenever any of the sages were deposed to be quarrelsome, discontented, or anxious. Is it anxious? Anxious, silence their complaints and scold them in harmony and plenty. The entertainment of dining at Rosen's were separated about twice a week, and allowing for the loss of Sir William's and there being one more card table in in the evening, every each entertainment was the counterpart of the first. Their other engagements were few, and as the style of living of the neighborhood in general was beyond the Collinses' reach. This, however, was no evil to Elizabeth, and upon the whole, she spent her time comfortably enough, and there were half hours of pleasant conversation with Charlotte. And the weather was so fine for the first time of the year that she had often get great enjoyment out of the doors. Her favorite walk, and where she frequently went while the others were calling on Lady Catherine, was along the open groove which edged that side of the park, where there was a nice sheltered path, which no one seemed to value but herself, and where she fell beyond the reach of Lady Catherine's curiosity. In this quiet way, the first fortnight of her visit soon passed away. Easter was, Easter was approaching, and the week preceding it was to bring an addition to the family at Rosens, which in some small, which in which in so small a circle must be important. Elizabeth had heard soon after her arrival that Mr. Darcy was expected there in the course of a few weeks, and though there were not many of her acquaintances whom she did not prefer, his coming would furnish one com- comparatively did not she didn't wait comparatively new to look at in their Rosen's parties, and she might be amused in seeing how hopeless Miss Bentley's designs on him were. But his behaviour to his cousin, from whom he was evidently destined by Lady Catherine, who talked of his coming with the greatest satisfaction, spoke of him in terms of the highest admiration, and seemed almost angry to find that he had already been frequently seen by Miss Lucas and herself. His arrival was soon known at the parsonage, for Mr. Collins was walking the whole morning within the view of the lounges opening into Hunsford Lane in order to have the earliest assurance of it, and after making his bow as the carriage turned into the park, hurried home with a great intelligence. On the following morning he hastened to Rosen to pay his respect, and there were two nephews of Lady Catherine to require them. For Mr. Darcy had brought them with him, and Colin Fridge William had brought him with For Mr. Darcy had brought with him a Colum Fitzwilliam, and a young son of his uncle Lord, and to the great surprise of all the party, when Mr. Collins returned, the gentlemen accompanied him. Charlotte had seen them from her husband's room crossing the road, and immediately running into the other, told the girl told told the girls what an honor they might expect, adding, "I might thank you, Lizzie, for this piece of civility. Mr. Darcy would never have come so soon to wait upon me." Elizabeth had scarcely time to disclaim all the right to the com- compliment, but before their approach was announced by the doorbell, and shortly afterward, the three gentlemen entered the room. Colony, is it colony? Let me look it up. Colon, Colonel, Colonel Fitzwilliam, who led the way, was about 30, not handsome, but in person and address most truly the gentleman. Mr. Darcy looked just as he had been used to look in Hertfordshire, paid his compliment with his usual reserve to Miss Collins, and whatever might be his feelings towards her friend, met her with a very met her with every appearance of composure. Elizabeth Manley carcered him, costified, cost. Wait, let me look up this word. Elizabeth Manley curtsied him without saying a word. Colion, wait, let me see. Curtsy, Colion. Colonel Fitzwilliams entered into the conversation directly with the readiness and ease of a well-bred man, and talked very pleasantly. But his cousin, after having addressed a slight observation on the house and garden to Mrs. Collins, sat for some time without speaking to anybody. At length, however, his civility was so far awake as to enquire of Elizabeth after the health of her family. She answered him in the usual way, and after a moment's pause, added, "My elder sister has been in town these 3 months. Have you never happened to see her there?" She was perfectly responsible that he never had, but she wished to see whether he would betray any consciousness of what had passed between the Bentleys and Jane, and she thought he looked a little confused as he answered that he had never been so fortunate to now meet Miss Bentley. Pursued, the subject was pursued no further, and the gentleman soon afterward went away. Yeah, I'm done reading it. I'm gonna read the next chapter tomorrow. Yeah, and I'm so proud of myself for reading this. Very proud. Yeah, thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.